guys, it's Shaylin and I'm here today with another writing video. So today I've got another video on the topic of writing degrees. So a couple weeks ago I posted a video answering some of your questions about writing degrees. Covered a bunch of stuff in that video. If you have questions about writing degrees or if you're considering if you want to get one, you can check that video out. I'll leave it in the cards and in the description. But since it's back to school season, I figured it would be a good time to do an advice for creative writing majors video. So as everybody and their grandmother knows, I studied writing at university. I got my undergrad degree in writing. I actually just got my degree in the mail because we did not have a graduation because of COVID. So I got my graduation hat. Do you wanna? Here we go. Oh, this is a good thumbnail. Got my degree that apparently I graduated with distinction. Hey, since I've now graduated, it would be a great time to make a video with just my advice for creative writing majors since it's September. You know, some of you might be starting your writing degrees. I'm so excited for you. I shall let you know that I'm very deeply nostalgic and I miss it. I miss being in school. This is the first September where I'm not going back to school. Ready to queue up a little existential crisis. Post-grad has been really fun for me, just kidding. First piece of advice is to make as many of your assignments into passion projects as you can. When you're studying writing, a natural extension of that is that there are going to be times where you don't have control over what you write. And that is something that you have to kind of accept. If you're going to do a degree in writing, you're going to have less control over what you write than if you were just writing on your own, because you're going to have to write to deadlines based on specific assignment criteria. This was a struggle for me at first because in my first year of my degree, I hadn't really learned how to just make the projects I was writing for school the things I was passionate about writing. It was this really difficult balance of me writing assignments for school and then going home to write my novel project that I cared about, and I didn't really care about what I was writing for school. I didn't start to really enjoy my degree and actually get anything out of my degree until I became passionate about the projects that I was writing for school. Sure, there were little assignments I didn't really care about, but in general, trying to make your assignments, especially your larger project, workshop projects, try to be passionate about that. And it might mean taking away some time and focus from that novel you were working on. It might mean that for the next few years you can't really focus on that. But you're gonna get a lot more out of your degree if you can make your assignments passion projects. My next piece of advice is to, by looking at your writing process and knowing your writing process, give yourself as much time as possible. You're probably gonna be in workshops at some point, and I love workshops. Workshop classes are typically small groups, 10, 15 people, and you alternate who hands in work and then you discuss and critique it. And that's where I learned so much and where I really grew as a writer was in those workshops. But they are a lot of work. They're just a lot of work, and the thing about workshops is there is never a week off. You're gonna have work to critique every single week, and you're gonna have pieces to hand in consistently over the semester. At least for us, our workshop comments would be fairly detailed. I had one professor where they were 2 to 3 single-spaced pages. We were doing pretty detailed critiques and working on multiple stories per semester, so there were a lot of work, and there's never really a time off in the semester. It's not like other classes where you have stuff due and then you don't. I think the best way to navigate that is to know your own writing process. So for me, I know that I can draft a lot faster than I can revise. And so when we were signing up for workshop dates, I would always try to take earlier dates because I don't need as much time to draft, but I do need a lot of time to revise. So I would try to set myself up for success by giving myself a bit less time to draft, but as much time to revise as I could possibly have. I would try to come into the semester with at least one of my stories written, sometimes more than one, sometimes both of them. Try to have as much of the writing done as early as possible. The creative process can be an unpredictable thing. You never know where you're gonna get stuck or you're gonna hit a wall, and everyone I know did have, that one story that came down to the wire, but in general, I think it's going to remove as much stress as possible from your life if you start working on your pieces as early as possible. If it's the summer and you're going into a workshop in the fall, now's the time to start writing your stories. I did a lot of my writing over the summer for workshop, and that took a lot of pressure off of me because I didn't have to worry about cooking up several stories over the course of just one semester, which is hard. My next tip is to just get involved. I think a lot of these tips stem from the things that I didn't do in first year that I wish I had done, because once I started doing them, I loved my life. I didn't have a great time in first year. I didn't make friends. I wasn't really involved or connected with the local writing community. And it wasn't until I started to get involved in things that I made friends and had fun. Go to events, go to readings, reach out to people. Amazing opportunity to make friends, people who share a passion with you, people who can be your critique partners for life. You know, this is a great opportunity to connect with people who share the same passion as you. But writers also often tend to be shy or introverted, so don't be afraid to be the one to make that leap, to be the one to go, hey, who wants to hang out? Like, people will say yes. If you just say, like, does anyone want to go to the pub? Does anyone want to do workshop comments together? Does anyone want to exchange work? Do you want to go to this event? People will say yes, I promise you. Luckily, I have more extroverted friends who did these things for me and drew me into their friend group. God bless them all. My cohort was really close. Love them all. We were really close, and professors even would comment on it. They'd be like, you guys are like the closest cohort we've ever seen. Like, it was actually, I think, disturbing sometimes for people who weren't in our friend group to witness. Professors were like, I shouldn't be hearing this. There were even like people who we were like, hey, do you want to hang out with us? And they were like, no, this is weird. Part of the reason why we were so close is, I think, just because we made like a really active effort to hang out and do stuff. You know, we threw everyone into a big chaotic group chat. Just everyone we met, we were like, oh, you're in the program? Join our group chat. And it was hell, but we became friends. And then we made a new group chat with just the people we like. That's how you make friends, folks. I don't consider myself very good at making friends. I'm shy. I overthink every social interaction that I have. Go to simple line, platonic pickup line that you can use. Hey, I really liked your story. That will do it. Trust me. If you want to be friends with someone, just say like, hey, I really liked whatever it is of theirs that you've read. And trust me, they'll say thank you, and then you'll be best friends forever. Money back guarantee. My next tip is just submit your work. This is a great opportunity to get used to rejection. And also to get publication credits. You know, you're gonna write a lot of short pieces. That's the nature of a writing degree. Might as well submit them. If you're scared of rejection, I would recommend in first year submitting to opportunities within your university. You know, if your campus has like on-campus journals, submit to those in like first and second year. It's a great opportunity. They won't be as competitive as like bigger magazines, so it's gonna be much easier to get a publication credit, and it might just not feel as scary. Although to me it feels scarier because it's like I kind of know these people. Once you have a piece you feel confident about, start submitting more widely. I've got an entire video on submitting short fiction, but submit your stuff. I do remember a professor saying like it should be your goal by the time you graduate to have a publication credit. And most people do. Build some confidence and also get used to rejection. My next tip is gonna seem obvious, but be open to trying new things. Writers can often be creatures of habits, and a lot of writers have a very particular understanding of what type of work they want to write and how their process works. And that's great. It is great to know your style and know what you're into, but sometimes you never know. You know, I came into my program having never written a screenplay and having no interest in screenwriting, and ended up taking screenwriting workshops for several years, and I had a lot of fun. Is screenwriting my ultimate life passion? No, but I learned a lot and I enjoyed it. And I know a lot of people who found something that they didn't think they would like. They found a new interest or a new passion or a new style or a new something because they were open to trying new things. And I do think some people get held back by their refusal to just be open. You know, they're like, well, I won't like writing a poem, so I'm not gonna put the energy into it. Be open to every opportunity that is presented to you. If you don't, like, there are things I learned, I don't like writing plays. I really don't. But when that opportunity comes up to write a play, try to be open to it. Sure, you might hate it. That's cool, at least you tried. But a lot of people are really surprised by what they end up loving and what they end up being really good at. And you have to be open to trying those things in order to get there. Plus, you're gonna learn more if you're open to the forms of writing that appeal to you less. You know, you're gonna get assignments and you're gonna go, this is not for me. That's cool, but approach it with as much enthusiasm as you can, as much investment as you can, because you will learn something. It's like cross-training, right? Anything that you write can improve your skills, even if it seems really distant from what your actual passion is. My next tip is give yourself permission to not connect with everyone or everything. You won't connect in a life-changing manner with every peer you workshop with every professor you have, with everything you're taught. Not everything is going to resonate with you, and that's totally okay. You don't have to put that pressure on yourself. Sometimes you just don't really connect with someone. There were definitely people in workshops that I connected with and just vibed with a lot better than others. People that I just maybe didn't really see eye to eye with on writing style. Cool, there's no reason to put pressure on yourself to learn as much from this person, but know that even if you don't connect really with someone, you probably can learn something, just one thing, from every person that you interact with. It doesn't have to be a huge life lesson. It doesn't have to completely change how you write. Sometimes the one thing you learn from a person is, I don't really connect with you as a person, and you learn how to not take that feedback. Sometimes that's what you learn, but you can probably learn just one thing from everyone you encounter, whether it reflects positively or negatively on that person. But don't put the pressure on yourself for everything to be a life lesson. You're gonna hear things in lectures that probably don't really resonate with you. That is okay. Of course you're here to learn, so if you just reject everything, why are you even paying for this? Not everything has to be for you. My next tip is, I think it's really helpful to be really aware of the fact that you need an idea. Always be thinking about the next idea and just building a list of potential ideas that you can come back to. I really saved myself from a lot of trouble by having actually a whole story in the drawer. There was a point in time where, by a series of events, I actually had a whole story that I'd never handed in, and then I got really burned out and I didn't have any ideas, and I was like, thank God I've got a whole story sitting around in the drawer. Trying to build up that reservoir of work, whether it's a whole story or just an idea, is going to help you when you need a story and you don't have an idea, because the time will come, trust me. It happens to us all. Sometimes that is a blessing. There was one point in time where I realized with panic, oh my God, I don't have a story. I need to start one immediately. Just started writing, and it turned into one of my favorite things I've ever written. Starting to build a list that you can reference, or just ideas that you can come back to when you don't have them, because it happens. You know, creativity is kind of like this. You'll have a lot of ideas and then you might not have anything. You might be really stressed at a certain point and just creatively really drained, but you need a piece. It helps to have something to fall back on. This will get easier the later you get into your degree. Second year was hard because we had to write 3 short stories, and I'd never really written short stories before, at least not in this writing style, and I had no well of ideas that I could draw, and it got easier as I went on because I started developing material faster than I had to hand it in. But in second year I had to hand in material faster than I could think of it, and that was hard. This next tip is a practical thing. It might seem random, but trust me. Get a good, reliable printer, or do research on where the cheapest place to print your work is. Look, you're gonna print some stuff. Printing your workshop submission is a rite of passage. Printing for workshop is not like printing for other things. At least for us, we had to print 1 copy for every single person in the class. Sometimes the pieces would be, you know, once I handed in like a 20-page submission, well, it was 40 pages, double spaced, for like 13 people. It's a lot of paper. I don't even want to think about the number of redwoods that I slaughtered. You print a lot. You go through ink. In second year, the printer that I'd had it for years, and it was so unreliable. I would have to block off a whole day to print my workshop submissions because the printer would jam constantly, and once I lost marks, because I handed in the story, and the version that I gave to the prof, one of the pages didn't print properly. It was like blank mostly, like the bottom third didn't print, so I lost marks on presentation because just by luck the professor had gotten the wonky copy. I hadn't gone through and checked to make sure they were all fine. I have a lifelong vendetta with printers. Maybe it's just a me thing. Printer curse. They never work. But yeah, in second year I had this awful printer. It would jam if it had more than like 4 sheets. So I had to like feed the pages in manually as it was printing. I lost years of my life doing this. Then I got a good printer and everything became easy. If you want to print from home, get a good printer that works reliably and that is efficient with ink. You can burn through a whole ink cartridge for 1 workshop submission, and then it's like, oh my god, an ink cartridge costs like $50. Printing is one of the biggest costs actually with being a writing student. I know a lot of people who would print on campus at the printing shop. It's always a joy when someone's printing their workshop submission and it's like 230 pages long, and then there's like a kid printing his first year sociology paper that's like 5 pages long who gets stuck behind you in the queue, and it's like, I'm sorry, child. If you don't want to print at home, do research on where the cheapest place to print is. It's probably not the library. Anytime someone was like, oh yeah, I print my workshop submissions at the library, I'd be like, bitch, how rich are you? On the flip side, I rarely had textbooks. There were semesters where I literally didn't have to buy a textbook, which saves a lot of money, but you do have to spend a lot of money printing, and it sucks. My next 2 tips are quite related, but I think they're important. And the first one is, learn when it's worth and when it's not worth inquiring about a grade you feel is unfair. I guarantee you at a certain point you're gonna get a grade you don't feel is fair. That's the nature of grading art. Writing is subjective, and even though a lot of writing professors have gotten pretty good at grading subjective art objectively as well as one can, we're all still people, and there's probably gonna be a time where you get a grade you feel is unfair. And this is gonna happen especially if you have a professor who's like a newer professor. Professors who were more experienced, I always felt like the grades were quite fair, but with newer professors, sometimes I'd get grades and I'd be like, what is this? Either really high or really low. It's probably gonna happen, but the worst people in any writing program are the people who are like, the program just doesn't get my work, and who inquire to like the dean on every single grade they get. Yeah, sometimes you're not going to agree with a grade. Learn when to let it go. There were certainly times where I was like, I feel I could have done a little better on this, but it just wasn't worth pressing on. I have seen times where people got grades and I was like, no, that's unfair. That's genuinely unfair. There are opportunities where you might want to inquire with someone else in the department. You might want to see if you can get a second reader. There are cases where that's a valid thing to do, but you've got to learn to use your discretion on when to let it go and when to actually fight for it. If you're fighting for every stray percentage, you're wasting your time, you're creating a lot of unnecessary stress for yourself, but still stand up for yourself in those rare cases where it might genuinely be unfair. It does happen. And at the same time, it's really good to know that you don't have to fit the mold of whatever style of literature is most heralded by your program. You know, writing programs often uphold a certain type of work more than others. On one hand, don't let what the program values ever invalidate your own passion for a certain style of writing. If you love sci-fi, but the program doesn't really offer an avenue for that, don't ever let it feel like it's because what you write is inferior. But at the same time, when it comes to your actual assignments, learn to use discretion so you know when it's time to push the envelope a little and when it's time to just follow assignment criteria. There are a lot of very skilled people who write genres that maybe writing programs don't necessarily gravitate towards. And I saw some of them thrive and I saw some of them crash and burn. And the people who crashed and burned just refused to follow assignment criteria. Assignment criteria would be, write me a literary short story. And they would be like, here is a sci-fi short story. And I think those people often feel like they're, you know, rebelling against kind of this like oppressive academic criteria. And yeah, the story was asking for literary fiction. That's not what everyone writes, but it's also like if you were asked to write a paper on a certain topic in a psychology class and you handed in a paper on a completely different topic, that's just not what the assignment was. It doesn't mean that your topic's not valid, it's just not what we're talking about right now. You aren't doing yourself any favors by not following assignment criteria. If you gain no joy or experience or knowledge from writing the things that are asked of you, an academic writing path might just not be for you. Know when to push the envelope. Know when it's okay to maybe bend the rules a little, because sometimes it is. I wrote things with magic in them. And sometimes with the right professor, with the right assignment, it's okay to push the envelope a little. One thing that I did poorly in my first couple years was think the program was more restrictive than it was. I was scared to think outside the box. Writing profs often love that stuff. They love it when you think outside the box and you're clever, but there is a different, I don't really know, I can't really draw that for you. That's gonna come with experience and time. But there is a time and place to bend the rules, to think outside the box, and that's gonna do good things for you. And there are times where you're just not listening to the assignment criteria. And my final tip, have fun. Yeah, we all knew that it was gonna end up here, but have fun. Genuinely, I miss my writing degree so much. It was the best time of my life. I'm nostalgic for it. I miss it. I didn't realize how much fun I was having until I was over, and now I'm like, college can be stressful. But as a writing student, this is 4.5 years to dedicate to what you love and be surrounded by people who also love the thing that you love. You're surrounded by like-minded people, get to immerse yourself in what you love, and I definitely at points took that for granted. Make the most out of it. My grandma, who is just one of the most awesome people on this earth, has this motto in life, which is, say yes in life, you'll have more fun. Say yes to opportunities. Whether that's, you know, typical college stuff, someone's like, hey, do you want to go do this random cool thing? Say yes, have fun, make the most out of it, write stuff that you love. This is a great opportunity if it's an opportunity that you were lucky enough to have. I'm so lucky that I got to do this with the past 4 years of my life. It was a blast. Sure, there were stressful points. College is gonna do that to you sometimes. I'm just getting really passionate about telling you to have fun because I've been stewing in a post-grad existential crisis for the past like 8 months. So I just implore you to make the most of it and have fun. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can always send me an ask on Tumblr, and I'll see you in another video.